30% of their children had been incarcerated. 40% of the kids were in foster care. And then it was just a mix of inner city children that didn't have the parental support at home. So I made a slight shift and started spending more time at the K-8 school.
Wow. And I know you said earlier that you want to go beyond identifying what is challenging to being proactive and providing support. So I just congratulate you for doing this work in the community. And the incarceration rates, that's astounding, Theresa. Are you talking about high school incarceration or K-8?
K-8.
Mercy.
Many of them have to steal to get a meal. When school is not in session and they don't live near a designated community center that offers free meals, they do what they have to do.
Yeah.
And or sometimes if their parents use any kind of drugs, they have their children or they teach their children to steal. It's a shame.
And so these young people are obviously helping their family members. They're not just stealing for the sake of stealing something. They're giving back in many ways to their family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so you talked about kids in foster care and the percentage of kids in foster care. Do you know how the kids that you mentor, are you primarily working with kids in foster care or intentionally, or doesn't it matter to you?
At first, it seemed like I was pretty much, I could target and pull out the foster kids, but as I noticed that my time needed to be equally divided between the groups because each group of kids had particular needs, and I didn't want to just focus on one group, because if I can make a difference with the kids that have been incarcerated and help them make better choices and give them the resources, hopefully that they would use the information and empower themselves and empower their families.
And so can you talk to us about some of the peer management and the leadership work with their peers, with the youth peers? Like, what are you teaching? If I'm one of your mentees, what am I learning from you?
Well, I just taught a speaker's class, and it got more in depth than that just teaching them to speak. We talked about how to communicate with one another and how to rely on one another and just to pour value into one another. So many kids pick up slang and language that's it devalues them. So I created a cohort, and we learned how to value each other, value ourselves, learn how to talk to your friends and create relationships, so when an adult wasn't available or I wasn't available, you could use that bond and rely on these partnerships.
So I know from my own work with young people and just raising my daughter, if you can't love yourself and respect yourself, it's very hard to do that for other people.
Yeah, and it's a big problem in our schools. There's so much fighting and bullying, and especially when kids feel like they have nothing to offer their friends, nothing to come to the table with, that they feel like they're the underdog and their family, they're struggling to make ends meet, so they can't even compete academically or with wearing the right clothes or having the latest electronics. So they come in feeling inferior and pretty much fight their way to the top.
Mm-hmm. So you're pouring life into these kids, Theresa. How Well, first of all, how much time do you spend doing this kind of work in the community? And talk to us about your why. You know, why are you pouring into these young people in the way that you do?
Well, in this particular school, it's 4 to 5 hours a day, and I try to attend all of their school events. Mm-hmm. At the high school, maybe an hour or two, 3 times a week. And my why, I see myself in those children. I grew up very, very poor, from a broken home. Many times my only meal was my free hot lunch. Mm-hmm. So I feel for these kids that I don't even think I had it as hard as they do now. Because kids, they often become targets when they don't have enough or feel like they don't have enough. Mm-hmm. And so I just, my why is I see myself in them, and I want to provide them with hope that despite what the circumstances are, you need to keep your eyes focused on where you want to be, or what you can be, and you can go to college. Even if you're behind in reading or a slow reader, because that was me. College wasn't even on my radar. Mm-hmm. And show them, okay, maybe I didn't graduate in 4 years from college. It took me longer. But if you keep, even if it's one class day, just keep working at it, you'll get to your goal.
So you've been there, done that, and now you are supporting these young people to do the same thing. And so do you share your story with these young people, Theresa?
I'm just starting to. You know, I think we have been conditioned in life to be ashamed of where we have come from. And I thought in my own mind it was more important just to let them see who I am now. Mm-hmm. But I've learned so much more from them, I think, than they learn from me, because I think it's just as important for them to hear the journey. Mm-hmm. That they need to see somebody that's like them, that yes. has the same circumstances.
Yes.
So I'm learning in this journey also.
Well, I'm really thrilled to hear that you are beginning to share your story, your journey, and you know, I only know the nth of your journey and your story, Theresa, but I know, you know, just from my own experience, when I can share just a little bit about my story, especially if I'm with kids who look like me and who have eyes like mine and cheeks like mine and hair like mine, it makes all the difference in the world for them to know that my circumstances were very, very similar to what they're dealing with.
Yes, I think it's important, and it's also important for what I've also done is back to making it tangible for them. Is if I don't feel like I can connect with them, bring in some of my friends that have had similar experiences. So again, so they can see someone that looks like them or sounds like them, or if they have a goal of being a news reporter, I try to bring someone in so they can see that for themselves, have that conversation, facilitate a connection for them so they know that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you spend 4 to 5 hours a day with these young people in K through 8, and then another 1 to 2 hours a week at the high school. So that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. Are you working with the youth in conjunction with teachers, or tell me more about your day? Like what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, most of it is on my own time.
Mm-hmm.
I very much believe that God will take care of me as long as I'm doing what He's called me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always, most of the schools and teachers have my cell phone number. If there's a particular problem, I usually get called out. And I sit and I counsel the kids, spend some time with them, do the goal setting. And then by about 12 o'clock, I go to the designated K through 8 and stay there from 12 to 4 or 5:30. And that's kind of how my day goes. And then I usually work after those hours or extremely early in the morning to supplement my income so I have the day free to serve our community.
And so for people who may be listening and want to do what you do, are you working with these young people one-on-one or in groups, or how does that work for you, Theresa?
Well, I start by volunteering at a particular school, and I have open conversations with the administration, with the teachers, saying, I want to connect with the kids. How can I help? Do they need coaches for the athletic teams? Do they need tutors? So I go in and assess what the needs are, and then I come back to them and say, well, I see that the 5th grade needs a tutor. Can I volunteer to do this? And then in establishing that connection, I start to pour in and mentor those children. So it might be just one-on-one tutoring. It might be volunteering to be the coach or the assistant coach. It might be showing up at school functions to volunteer and pouring into the kids.
So it starts with a can-do attitude, it sounds like, and
yes.
Wanting to serve. And you said you started with a particular school, having those conversations with the teachers, and figuring out what the needs are, and then showing up and saying, this is what I can do. Can I help here? Can I help there?
Yes, and there's the schools currently are like sponges. They are soaking up all the help that they can get because they don't have the resources to bring in the aides for the kids or the mentors or even the programs.
So they welcome you, it sounds like. They're hungry
yes.
for your support and your help.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. And so how many schools again do you serve in?
I have 6 right now. Sometimes it can vary depending on the different events, or right now I've still been through the end of this year focusing on the K through 8 because their needs are very great.
Mm-hmm.
So I said I would be there throughout the year.
Well, this is like a full-time job for you. I mean, it doesn't take much to do the math. And you said that you get up very early to supplement your income so that you can be a community servant.
Yes.
And
I get up at 4 a.m. every morning, and I work till 7, 8, usually about 8, and I get a call every day from one of the schools, and I don't mind. And then if I haven't finished my work for the day, once I get home and take care of my own family, I continue to go back to work until my work is done.
Well, you are a role model for us all. My word, that's amazing. Great conversation today. Thank you again to Dr. Theresa Davis for being my guest. Now, if you missed any part of this week's broadcast about leadership, one person's journey to living and leading with an attitude of service, you can listen to the podcast right here on Talk Network Radio. You can also catch us in lots of other places, including iTunes, Android Alexa, and Spreaker.com. That's right, Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Now, before I close today's show, I just want to give a shout out to all of the leaders out there all over the world. Now that means you, all of you amazing folks who desire to become the leader in your own life so that you can make a difference in your own life and in the lives of others as well.